Happy Nintendo Switch 2 launch day. What better way to celebrate the launch of new games and new hardware than to commemorate the best of the best that came out on that old, dead, and dusted, worthless piece of junk that was the original Switch. This is a joke. I love the Switch. For context, here is a list of every single game I put reasonable amount of time into on the Nintendo Switch. After being talked into pre-ordering one by a coworker back in 2017, this little guy has been my main gaming device pretty much since. Well, first this one, then the red box revision with a better battery, and finally an OLED model. Even still, there are plenty of games I never quite got around to. If I had managed to cut away some time for either of the Mario RPG remakes, or any of the Pikmin games, or maybe the Mario plus Rabbids games, or Bug Game, Spoon Heaven, Hollow Knight, any of them would have had a good chance of getting on the final list. You might also notice that there are no Pokemon games on the list. Also, there were multiple games I played via the Nintendo Switch Online service, specifically the emulated games from consoles past. I'm not counting any of those. So without delaying any further, here are the top 25 best games I ever played on my Nintendo Switch, starting with Paradise Killer delivers a truly excellent mystery by literally dropping you onto a visually abrasive island filled with very attractive people, some of whom may have just committed the murder of every leader on the island. Said island, of course, is attempting to revive the interdimensional space gods while also trying to eradicate all the interdimensional space demons, both involving quite a bit of human sacrifice. All off-screen, at least. The lore uncovered during Paradise Killer is so fantastically dark. Every new piece had me enthralled. Each of the characters are both charming and off-putting in equal measure, and once all the traversal moves have been collected, beeline for the double jump at the very least, exploring the island and uncovering clues was a great time. But the true killer is the OST by Barry Epoch Topping. This city pop future funk soundtrack immediately ingrained itself into my inner psyche, and I've listened to it more than almost any other OST on this list. Speaking of music, Thumper's soundtrack is comprised of mostly percussion, and I'll be honest, that's never been my favorite. But traversing through these neon roller coasters, drifting, jumping, gliding, and defending through these winding tracks in rhythm to these percussive beats is something special. To get pulled into these levels, to be one with this metallic bug, feels amazing. I've heard it's even better playing in VR, but holding the Switch a few inches from my face did a great job of putting me in the action. It's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Everyone is here from across the entire series thus far. Snake is back. Cloud Strife is here. The DLC I never bought gave us Joker Persona and Sora Kingdom Hearts and Sans Undertale. Look, Smash Bros. Is Smash Bros. I'm never going to be one of those weirdos who treats it like a fighting game, so my best times with it are always with a group of others while tossing items around on one of the myriad of fun levels. Which is to say, I never actually played too much Smash this iteration, but I still very much appreciate it for what it is. Is Super Mario Maker 2 better than the Wii U's? Probably? Maybe not? But it gave us about 100 new Nintendo-made Mario levels, slopes, and a few other really fun tools to make levels with. did I ever make levels? No, not really. And I didn't wind spending as much time with 2 as I did in the first, but I can't deny myself, I love Super Mario, and this is definitely a lot of Super Mario. Umurangi Generation is the first game on this list that I'd consider impactful, important even. It's a game about photographing the end of the world. The photo mechanics were really fun to learn, my understanding is they're fairly realistic at that. The levels were fascinating to run around, you take photos of slums, graffiti, war, big robots, poverty, affluence. It delivers a really strong message of what a militarized country does to its own populace during times of peace, how it treats that same populace during times of conflict, how it treats different populaces during that same time, all set to a really great soundtrack. Baba Is You is one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. You control Baba, who can move around and push various objects, most notably words, and the words can be combined with other words to make sentences, or to unmake them. Change a sentence from Baba is you to Kiki is you, now you control Kiki. Push you away from Baba is you, and now nobody is you, and the level becomes soft-locked. These words can make certain blocks safe, or dangerous, or move when you do, or on and on and on. It's such an ingenious way to think of puzzles. Every single one made me feel like a genius for solving. It's the game on this list the most that I need to get back to. Okay, look, I'm breaking my own rules a bit here. The official spot goes to Splatoon 3 and Side Order, but I should have also put Splatoon 2 and Octo Expansion just below at 20, but if I did, it would have kicked off another title, so this spot kinda goes out to Splatoon's overall showing on the Switch. I didn't play Splatoon 2 much outside of Splatfests and the single-player campaigns, but I did play a bunch of 3's multiplayer, and I really enjoyed my time with it. The Grand Fest was something special, and both the campaigns had their own strengths. I've heard 2's multiplayer was technically better than 3's, but I don't have enough experience in the former to really judge, and 3's main campaign is still probably the best in the series. Anyway, Pearl and Marina. Deep Cut's also real good. Check out my videos on 3 in Side Order in the description. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was the first truly 3D game in the series since its conception, and it pulled off the conversion seamlessly. Perhaps it was due to the inspiration from Mario 3D World, but the game did an excellent job converting the feel of exploring a 2D arena and grabbing fun power-ups while accounting for a Z-axis. The multiplayer maybe wasn't the most interesting, when playing as Bandana Waddle Dee at least, the GOAT, but even still there were some truly exciting moments throughout the game. The last act body horror twist was surprisingly horrifying, and the game's climax, one that manages to utilize Kirby's new mouthful mode while feeling incredibly more powerful than in the regular game, was so amazing. It stuck with me since. My more verbose thoughts can be found linked in the description. A Short Hike was first pitched to me as an Animal Crossing-like, and despite New Horizons not quite cracking my top 25, Animal Crossing is one of my most favorites. And since A Short Hike launched during that long wait between New Leaf and New Horizons, I gobbled it up without a second thought. And the game is just absolutely lovely. The graphics are just the right level of crunchy. The autumnal island is one of the prettiest locations I've ever had the pleasure of digitally exploring. The dialogue is so witty and charming. The story is as touching as it is simple. The scope of the game is very small, and it only takes about 4 hours to fully complete, but within that scope, a short hike is perfect. I had never technically played a Luigi's Mansion game before I reviewed them all as a part of Luigi's Mansion Mania, link in the description, which is why after playing all 3 back-to-back, each for the first time, I am uniquely qualified to say that Luigi's Mansion 3 is easily the best. It's the perfect synthesis of the fun and interesting characters from the original GameCube title and the more level-based exploration from Dark Moon. Its biggest flaw is that by separating each level into a different floor of the hotel, it doesn't feel like Luigi's exploring a place like the original did, but it made up for that by giving each floor wild and incongruous floor plans, with each culminating in a really fun, unique boss fight. In many ways, Super Mario Bros. Wonder was the last huzzah for the Nintendo Switch. Sure, games like Side Order or Mario & Luigi Brothership or Zelda Echoes of Wisdom released afterwards, but none had as big an oomph as the newest Mario. And what a wonderful huzzah it was! It kept the same controls and level design ethos from the new Super Mario Bros. Series, but enhanced everything. The game is the best looking 2D Mario game, each animation lovingly crafted and amazingly cartoony. The levels themselves are, at the base level, great. Fun new enemies and hazards are found every which way, but with the Wonder Flowers transforming the level or the player or the controls or the enemies in every single level, with almost no repeating events, it transforms this great platformer into something truly special. More thoughts in my review, linked in the description, when it's out. There were some people who followed the development of Kentucky Route Zero for the full decade it took to come out, playing through each chapter as they released every few years. I was not one of those people. Instead, I learned of the game shortly after it launched on the Switch, bought it without a second thought on recommendation from the folks at Waypoint at the time, and had my mind blown. The way that this game lets the player interact and shape the narrative is so effective. It's which place to drive to first, what dialogue option to choose. It's walking around a museum and looking at different art pieces. It's sitting back and listening to a performance, and the story it's telling is so heartbreaking, so emblematic of where we are as a populace, while still trying to carve out a little bit of hope. Return of the Obra Dinn, much like A Short Hike, is another perfect game within its scope. The premise of the game is incredibly mundane. You play as an insurance agent investigating the Obra Dinn, having returned to port devoid of life, and it's their job to figure out how much money to pay out and whom to pay it to. Visually, it is one of the most stunning games ever. It utilizes a 1-bit aesthetic to give everything a vintage feel. Mechanically, it involves finding a corpse and using a magic compass to view a 3D mosaic of the time when that person perished, and using the brief audio play and clues from the scene to figure out 1. Who that person is, 2. How they died, and sometimes 3. How to get to the next scene. And puzzling through these names, putting together voices to names, to clothings, to bunk beds, is one of the most satisfying puzzle adventures I've ever partaken in. Mario Kart 8 was the best Mario Kart when it released on the Wii U. It got even better with the 4 DLC cups and 200cc mode, and got even better when it was all bundled and re-released as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch with a now better battle system. But this little money maker wasn't done yet. The Booster Course Pack doubled what was already the biggest Mario Kart game, with a group of new levels, reimagined courses from Mario Kart Tour, and even more returning classics. As a whole entire package, I can't imagine a better Mario Kart. It's great to play, and there are so many great levels, it'd be impossible to grow bored of them all. Spiritfarer means a lot to me. Sure, it's fun enough jumping around this boat or these islands, getting materials to build rooms to grow more materials to build more rooms. The platforming feels great, and the management sim is good enough. The thing that really makes it special is the multiple stories that progress during this grinding. Stella meets many different animal spirits throughout her time as Fairy Master of the Dead. Her job is to bring these folks onto her boat, make them happy, and prepare them to leave the afterlife. The twist being that each is a person from Stella's life. Meeting each of these individuals, learning to care for them, to love for them, and then being tasked with bringing them to their ultimate end, for them to return to the sky. The game teaches how to be okay with saying goodbye, and it is heart-wrenching every single time. And more thoughts of it are in an early review of mine, a very early review, mind you. Links in the description. And here, at number 10, we're entering the portion of the list where each title is an undisputed classic. Heck, there's an argument to be made that any of the top 25 could be someone's number 1. I personally could rearrange the top 14 near haphazardly and still be fairly happy with the end result. But these next 10 are in another echelon. To be quite honest with you, I did not remember playing Shovel Knight Treasure Trove on my Switch. I remember playing it on my 3DS, and recently completed it and all the DLCs on my Vita, but only now do I recall also giving it a whirl on the Switch. But it's still Shovel Knight. Even if it was just the base campaign, it would still have easily landed a spot on this list. Shovel Knight is a fantastic platformer, but by adding in Plague of Shadows, which introduced a very interesting moveset, Spectre of Torment, a stunning action platformer, and the best of the DLCs, King of Cards, a still great platformer with a surprisingly good card game that I never got great at, plus all the fun challenges and the battle mode, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is one of the best collections of platformers ever. Hades is an innately fun game. Running through room after room, collecting new powers or upgrading the current ones, defeating enemies, dashing around, traveling up through the 4 levels of hell to help Zagreus kill his dad is such a fun loop. The multiple powers are one of the strongest parts. Seeing how each play with one another and slowly getting a preference for which ones I liked the best, especially when accounting for the multiple weapons available, made every run feel just different enough. The great voice acting from each of the gods and bosses or side characters makes this story equally fun to progress through, and even when a run ends with Zag's death, the story will often still progress, making each one feel like a success. And aside from the milquetoast ending, I never stopped having fun. I don't usually come to platformers expecting a story, especially not with ones as brutally difficult as Celeste, but that's why Celeste is so high up. Not only does it deliver excellent levels with an amazingly tight and intuitive moveset, it also delivers on a brutally touching story of Madeline learning to accept herself. The mountain is both literal and a metaphor. Also, it's composed by Lena Raine. She's one of my most favorite composers ever. The OST is worth the price of admission alone. Hey, speaking of Lena Raine, she did some composition work on Minecraft. Yes, that Minecraft. The one developed by Hatsune Miku, not acknowledging that other guy, was purchased by Microsoft a while back and has been played by just about everyone who's ever lived, give or take. There's a reason this game became so popular. It's great. Whether you're the artist type who likes to fly around and build in creative, or you're the adventurous type who likes to slay many a creature while navigating ravines, or you're like me, someone who will strip mine for eons and once dug out, well, this big hole in the ground just because it was a relaxing way to listen to some podcasts. There's something in it for most anyone. Plus, the soundtrack is phenomenal. Shout out also to C418. Thank you, Hatsune Miku, and thank you, Jens and the team at Mojang. While we're on a run of perfect games, Tetris is, in all likelihood, the best game ever developed. Tetrominoes falling down on a grid, being tasked with clearing them out line by line, somehow makes for the most stimulating of experiences. Then, when Tetris 99 put 99 people all competing against one another for the Tetris Maximus, it twisted this already great game into a heart-pounding feat. Anyway, was this mainly just a way to show off how many dubs I've gotten over the years? Who can say? It's a lot. As I alluded to in the Kirby Forgotten Land entry, Super Mario 3D World pulled off a special feat by making a 3D Mario feel like a 2D one. The ways its levels are laid out manage to be fun if playing through linearly, while still rewarding exploration. And in Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, the already great controls were fine-tuned to the upteenth degree, making an already great platformer even better. Bowser's Fury, on the other hand, is a fantastic look into what Mario's future could look like. Pulling these already great levels into an open world worked great, and while the Fury Bowser segments became a tad too frequent toward the end, the kaiju fights were still pretty fun. More on this linked in the description. Now, eagle-eyed viewers might notice, when I reviewed every single Super Mario platformer as a part of Super Mario Bros. Bonanza, link in the description, Super Mario Odyssey was ultimately ranked just below 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Yet here it is at number 4, just above 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Look, it's just... Look, okay, look, okay? Look, you see? Well, anyway, Odyssey is a truly great game. There's never been a better playing Mario game. Each of the hubs are an absolute joy to explore. The process of finding moons around every corner, or after a challenging platforming sequence, or behind a door that required Mario to dress to his undies. I had a smile the whole time, let alone the 2 major musical sequences that fill me with so many emotions every time I experience them, or Cappy and the transformations, which add even more unique and varied ways to explore. Odyssey is a true joy. And here we are entering into my favorite games of all time territory. At this point, I've played The Binding of Isaac more on both PC and PS5, which did not stop me from sinking dozens of hours into this beloved title early on in the Switch's life. I love exploring these dungeons. I love getting wild power-ups that sometimes completely alter a playthrough. Seeing how disparate elements tie into one another as I fight my way through grotesque enemies and bosses, traveling deeper and deeper, uncovering Isaac's inner psyche and demons, is truly one of my most favorite things to do. The Binding of Isaac is the game on this list I have played the most. And while only a fraction of that time was spent on the Switch, it does not negate the joy I had while fighting through tears on this hybrid console. Alright, let's just rip the band-aid off. Number 2 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and number 1 is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, they are both on this list. Yes, Tears is just above Breath. Yes, this did wind up kicking off the Origami King from the list. Breath of the Wild is a truly special game. It was the first open world game I ever experienced, and it altered me as a person. Sure, the story was never that great, but that didn't stop me from combing across this amazing to explore world, fighting bokoblins, searching out Koroks, and solving puzzling shrines with the 4 versatile yet limited powers. Being in this world was always engrossing. I cannot stress how much I enjoy being in it. I finished the game once, then a couple years later went back and did it again, this time collecting every single of the Korok seeds, and the DLC gave us a motorcycle. It's wild. In the years, days, hours leading up to Tears of the Kingdom getting released, I was vibrating with excitement, yet also skeptical. How could Tears of the Kingdom live up to one of the greatest games ever made? Well, somehow Nintendo pulled it off. The team took the wonderful world from the first game and added layers to it. Now there's the occasional skyland to explore, or vast chasms that drop Link into an underground and inverse Hyrule, or the collection of caves that weave their way through these existing hills and canyons. But that's not all. All of Link's previous powers were thrown out and replaced with ones that opened up the possibility space even greater. Now he can lift anything, not just metal, and stick pieces together to make vehicles. Or if in a cave or really just underneath something that he wants to be on top of, he can swim through any object to reach the top. Or if something falls from the sky, hop on it and rewind to get to where it came from. Plus, the world I loved has changed in the few years between games. Characters changed, Pura's hot now, towns have grown, Zelda feels like she has truly existed in this world before the inciting events. And while the narrative isn't going to win any awards, and the procedure of getting the same cutscene after all 4 of the major quests became very rote, the ending was still so special to me. Everyone teaming up, that amazing moment at the start of the boss, the truly amazing final sequence in the air, and then there's the final catch, which still brings me to tears even just thinking about it. I spent, well, over 500 hours in Tears of the Kingdom, getting every seed, upgrading every armor set, finishing every quest, double that when I account for my time in Breath of the Wild, and I do not regret a single second. I love these games so much. I would love any reason to jump back in again. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments your favorite Switch games, and let me know if you're planning on getting a Switch 2 anywhere in this first year or so. If you liked this, you can go ahead and leave a rating on the video, or leaving a comment, or subscribe if you want to get notified of everything else, or you can look in the description for links to my social medias to bug me elsewhere on the internet. I am at Mario8th everywhere, by the way. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.